That's right. I'm a linguist. I study languages for a living. That means I should know all about languages. And yet, if you would have asked me 5 years ago to tell you something about the power of I would have likely said, That's right, I would have had little to say. I would have been at a loss for words. I knew all about sounds, words, grammar. I knew very little about how we use language in everyday life. Now, obviously, things changed. Here I am, wanting to share something about what we can learn from one of the most unassuming words of all. This little word, What changed? Let me take you along for a ride. And it starts in Ghana, West Africa. You see, often one of the best ways to get a fresh view of a phenomenon is to radically change your perspective. That's what linguists do, language scientists, when they go to the field, to far-flung places, to learn about languages that nobody knows about yet. This is about getting out of your comfort zone. It's about escaping the groove of familiarity. It's about coming to terms with what you know and what you don't know. And for me, that quest led to this mountain village in Ghana, Kawu. I spent over a year there living with the locals, making many friends, learning the language, Sibu. And over the course of doing that work, I felt like I had entered a different world. The sounds, the words, the grammar, they were all radically different. I spent a lot of time actually recording how people talked in everyday settings like this one, where people are just doing some work together and chatting. But something struck me when I was there, when I was listening to those recordings. Somehow it's interesting, if you look at language from the outside in a world that's not your own, you start seeing things that you've never noticed. You see, despite all the differences, I heard people teasing each other, making jokes, laughing together, crying together. I heard people try not to interrupt each other too much. I heard people running into misunderstandings and solving them together. So despite all the differences, there seem to be some deep similarities. When watching my recordings, that was one of the things I encountered, this little word, Let me just play you an example. Let's hear that again. Okay, so now, none of you knows this language. You don't even need to know the words to still understand what's going on here. Obviously, somebody's repeating what they said in response to some very little word. This word, Now, you might say this is blindingly obvious. And I would say, yes, I agree. Indeed, it's blindingly obvious. This is one of the most common things we do in language. It's also one of the most crucial things that keeps our language working. You see, this little word is what helps keep our conversations on track. So I want to give you 3 reasons why this word is so special. And I'll start with the shortness of it. You see, in cars, we have this traction control system, right, that keeps us from skidding, keeps us on the road, and it does its work without us noticing it. We're just on the road there. We barely notice it being there, and yet it's there, making life easy for us, making it easy for us to keep driving on the road. And that's the same way with this little word. It keeps our conversation on track. Without it, we would be lost. Our conversations would be instantly derailed all the time. So this little word is there out to help us. Now, you might think, yeah, but wait, I've been told this word is impolite, so I shouldn't use it. What is politeness, I ask? You see, sometimes it's probably polite to spend a lot of syllables saying, sorry, could you please repeat that? But sometimes it's much more respecting of each other's time to just come straight to the point. Go, and then the other repeats what they said. This is what we do much more often. That's what this little word is about. A traction control system for conversation. So that's the first lesson I learned about looking at conversation, looking at language in everyday use. You see all these neat devices that keep us from getting off track. Now, the second lesson is even more amazing. You see, when I got back from Ghana, I started comparing notes and listening to recordings from colleagues. We work all over the world. We try to understand what makes languages similar to each other or different. Now, of course, we know that words are usually different when languages are unrelated. Not so with this one. Have a look at this word in 36 languages around the world. This is what we found. It's always the same simple syllable. It's always a vowel in the range of a, or never e, never u. We didn't find a language where this word is something like bi, kukuru, or come to think of it, Scheveningen. It could be, but it isn't. Everywhere, all languages have come down to the same solution. A quick fix for a common problem. That's what this word is. Essentially, it occurs in this environment between two repetitions that squeezes it into the same shape in all those different languages. We have a whole day of conversations ahead of us. I'm very sure we'll hear some people using huh. I'm very sure you might even catch yourself saying it. And that's actually, it's a good thing. Actually, let's just try that. We have many different languages represented here. Just turn to your neighbor and say huh in your own language at the count of 0. So I'm counting down. 3, 2, 1. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Come again. 3, 2, 1. There you go. Okay. Now don't be confused, by the way. We're not talking about this comic book version of huh. That's maybe the most impolite thing. No, we're talking about this short and sweet word huh. That's the universally used word. The third lesson about huh occurs when we start looking at what language really is, looking at language in everyday social life. You see, when we think about language, it's often easy to lose the wood for the trees, to just think, oh, this is about grammar, difficult things. Actually, language is not so much about words, but it's about doing things with words, right? Thanks to language, we make friends. Thanks to language, we can share information, we can understand each other. Thanks to language, we can build complex social institutions, from board games to banks. All those things wouldn't be there if we didn't have language. And here's the best thing about huh. I haven't told you what is most important about it, and I've only been telling you about the shape of it, so about the sound of this little word. That's only half the story. The other half is what the other person does in response to it. You see, huh is only the first step in a dance that involves the two of us. We're in this together. When I have a problem in conversation, it's not just my problem. It's our problem. And you and I, we need to solve it together. So, you may think this sound is easy to make. Many animals probably can make this sound. Probably true. But it's not just about being able to emit this sound. There's a lot of sophisticated reasoning going into listening to someone else, realizing how much you understand, realizing at some point you're missing something, and then going, huh? For the other two, there's a lot of sophisticated reasoning going on in getting that signal from you, reasoning back to what was being said, realizing, wait, okay, so that could have been going wrong, repeating only that part and maybe clarifying it along the way, explaining it. That kind of reasoning is something that goes behind this little word. So that's something to look out for. Whenever you hear this, it's something to enjoy, to see people working together. Special thing about this is it's something only humans can do. That's right. No other animals can hold their communication and say, wait, I didn't get it. Please repeat that. It's a human thing. So there you go. One of the most humble words tells us something about what it means to be human. I don't know about you, but I find it weirdly comforting that humanity across the globe is united in asking questions. Big questions, but also small ones. Sums up the human condition pretty well, doesn't it? So, I've taken you along for a ride to Ghana. Then, in bird's eye view across the world, where we saw, being the same everywhere, universally used, and then back to our own everyday language use. And along the way, we've seen 3 key things about this little word, maybe the most unassuming word of all. The first thing is, it's short and sweet. It's the perfect tool for the job. The second thing is, it's universally used. Humans are united in using this word. And the third, it is deeply human. Only we can do this. Isn't that amazing? As I think about my own journey from the Netherlands to Ghana and back, doing this comparative work with my colleagues at the Max Planck Institute, that's something I've really come to realize. the social side of language. The fact that even in the most mundane moments of conversation, we are working together. We are listening to each other. We are helping each other. So, think about your own field. Maybe there are questions you don't ask because you think you already know the answer. Maybe there are decisions you make based on stereotypes. Maybe there are things you don't see because they are right under your nose, just like this phenomenon. If there's one thing you take away from the story of let it be this. Keep asking questions. Thank you.